The doctor told me I needed TRT immediately, but am I hopping on? Hell no, guys. So if you guys didn't know, when you chase super physiological levels of low body fat, some side effects happen. One of those, very commonly in a lot of people, just from the simply, unhealthy low levels of body fat and the extended period of being in a calorie deficit for a very long time, is hormones start to tank, right? You can go hypogonadal. That is where you have horrible low test levels. If you guys didn't know, I got my blood work done 3 weeks out. I had 39 nanograms of my test was 39 nanograms per deciliter of my total test, and my free test was like 0.3, I believe. But oh shoot, it's showing already. But I got my blood work back, and it is 4 months post-show, back to normal, 20 pounds up, feeling amazing. And I got my numbers done. And the doctor said I need a TRT because I'm at 177 nanograms per deciliter for my total test. So we're up from 39 to 177, still in the very, very low reference range. And yes, I did do this test correctly. I was fasted. I did not train the day before. I came in hydrated, did everything properly. My free test is also below the reference range at 3.5 liters. But let's also go over everything in here and everything that's out of range. I won't really go over the stuff that's in range because it's not too much stuff. It's kind of just basically, am I hydrated? Do I have my minerals? Is my kidney working or not? Let's go over these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things that are out of range. And first of all, I want to preface, I'm not complaining. This is simply because I was in a calorie deficit prepping for 3 different shows over the course of basically an entire year, from September 2024 all the way to basically November 2025. I was in and out of a calorie deficit, doing 2 different seasons, doing back-to-back shows, not giving my body the time off it needed. Some people can handle lower levels of body fat than others. I have never felt the best once I get below 10% body fat. And simply, I'm doing everything I can. I feel amazing. I'm getting stronger in the gym. I'm not in a deficit anymore. I'm in a surplus. Like I said, I'm up 20 pounds. Energy is great. Sleep is great. I get all my healthy fats in. I get my carbs in. I feel amazing. Simply, the reason my test is still suppressed and low is because it just takes more time to recover. Some people, they'll be back to normal after a month post-show. Some people, it just takes longer than others. The main answer to bodybuilding is simply time. Time is your answer when it comes to a lot of things. So my body just needs more time in a surplus, and things will come back to normal. When you have a super long prep, it's going to take longer to recover. Typically, it takes about 8 to 10 weeks for someone that did a normal prep to recover, but someone that was prepping for as long as me, it may be a couple more months till things get back to normal. But I don't feel like this. High test is a mindset. I feel amazing. My sleep is amazing. And like I said, I'll get it tested again soon. I'm sure it'll be higher than that. It also may. I got this done when I took a deload week. I took a deload week because my body was cooked, because I had been pushing a ton more weight in the gym, progressive overloading, and my sleep started to suffer. My HRV on my whoop started to come down, and I was like doing everything right still. It was still like in the yellow, and I was like, oh, I need a deload. Took a deload. HRV went right back up. Sleep quality went right back up. And so, also tests could have been tanked a little bit, and some of these other markers could have been tanked simply from the inflammation of training. If you guys didn't know, training causes quite the inflammation in our body. We are literally causing inflammation, and our body responds to that stimulus by creating adaptation to overcome, the stimulation and the inflammation that we put on our body. We cause a fatigue stimulus, and sometimes you have to take deloads to recover from that fatigue stimulus when fatigue accumulates. And so the metrics may have been lower than they really are because fatigue was built up. So let's go over why the doctor wanted to put me on TRT, right? 177 nanograms per deciliter now, up from 39. That is still very, very low, guys. But I don't feel like that. Let's go over all these things I'm out of range in, though. I'm out of range in BUN, creatinine, potassium, calcium, ALT, GFR, HDL cholesterol, total test, and free test. So first of all, let's start with BUN. What is BUN? BUN is the waste that your kidneys kind of filter out, right? So when you eat protein, your body breaks it down. The liver produces urea as a waste product of this process. The urea travels through your blood to the kidneys, which filter it out and remove from your body through urine, right? So I obviously eat a high protein diet. So my BUN is probably elevated from that, but also could have been from dehydration, although I did have a liter of water and electrolytes before I did the blood test. However, it's fasted, it's early in the morning, maybe I hadn't fully hydrated yet. A lot of times people get blood work done and things are out of the reference range simply because they go into the blood work dehydrated. But my kidneys are great. I don't drink, obviously. I don't do anything that's damaging my kidneys. I think it's just my high protein diet. But yeah, it's simply just blood, urea, nitrogen. Here's a little graph here for you guys to understand, but it just lets you know that make sure your kidneys are working properly. Like I said, mine's only 7 points above the reference range. Really nothing to be concerned about. We'll keep an eye on it the next test though. Like I said, I eat a lot of protein, have a lot of creatine, I drink a lot of caffeine. Sometimes some kidney markers can be elevated a little bit higher just because of those simple things. Next thing, my creatinine, that is out of range. Creatinine, not to be confused with creatine, basically just signifies also kidney filtration. Like I said, dehydration can show temporary levels to be very high. So like I said, probably just didn't have enough water and electrolytes going into this test. And obviously first thing in the morning, you haven't drank water all night. I was probably a little bit dehydrated, but also I do consume like 15 grams of creatine a day. So it's probably, my creatinine and a lot of my kidney markers are going to be elevated because creatinine is a byproduct of creatine phosphate breakdown in muscles produced at a relatively constant rate. Also, another way creatinine can be high in the blood is from, the stress from training in the gym. But I did take the day off before. I know some people take about 3 days off before blood work just to make sure things don't get thrown off. Here's a little graph about creatinine. Basically, high blood level creatinine levels suggest kidney dysfunction, but I take a lot of creatine, I eat a lot of protein. Like I said, it is totally fine with me if some of these kidney levels are high, but it's a good idea to make sure my kidneys are breaking everything down properly and functioning. Like I said, most likely it's just because I was dehydrated. My potassium was high here. I simply believe that's because the electrolyte powder I took in the morning has a high amount of potassium in it, so there's gonna be more potassium in my blood. Also, I've been eating a lot of bananas and sweet potatoes and potatoes, which are high in potassium. So something I need to do to fix that is just simply bump my sodium up. I don't salt my foods enough as I should be, especially with how much I sweat during workouts, cardio. So I'm gonna be making the effort to salt my foods more. Calcium, that's simply a mineral. It's literally basically in the reference range, guys. It's 10.1 when the reference range is 8.6 to 10. I am not worried about that. LT. So what is ALT? If you can see here, mine is 1 point high. Like I said, not worried about 1 point over. But ALT is an enzyme mainly found in the liver that acts as a key marker for liver health. When liver cells are damaged or inflamed, they release higher amounts of ALT in the bloodstream. So my blood markers really show that my liver and kidneys are kind of stressed. And like I said, I don't drink alcohol. I simply think that is because I was dehydrated in the morning. And like I said, it was during a time I had to take a deload. Body was kind of in a lot of stress. I don't think high amounts of protein or creatine are really causing these things. I think it's just simply inflammation. And like I said, and dehydration. It's barely over. It's pretty much in the reference range. But all this stuff is just checking out my liver, making sure everything is working properly. GFR is the next thing. Mine is below the minimum reference range, right? GFR is also another kidney thing. It measures how well your kidneys filter waste from your blood, indicating overall kidney function. So it seems like my kidneys are a little bit stressed. Something I'm going to do is take a caffeine break, kind of chill out on energy drinks and see if my levels kind of go down. Also, my next blood work test, I'm going to go in extremely hydrated, like 2 liters of water, 2 scoops of electrolytes, and some pink Himalayan salt to bump up my sodium a little bit. Make sure I go in hydrated so any dehydration in the morning doesn't throw any of these numbers off. But key aspects of GFR, right? It measures the volume of blood filtered by the tiny kidney filters per minute, assessing how efficiently the kidneys remove waste and excess fluid. Like I said, my levels were a little bit low, so it estimates function based on serum creatinine levels, age, sex, and sometimes body size. Basically, since it's low, it's saying that my kidneys don't filter, blood fast enough, right? Because they're stressed. So it shows some kidney and liver stress here in this blood work. So like I said, it's not too out of the reference range, but something to keep an eye on. Like I said, all your organs can really show that they're out of the reference range when you're dehydrated and when your body's stressed. So I'm going to make sure I take probably 3 days off of training. I go into my next blood work session fresh and really compare the numbers with that one. So just some liver and kidney things that are barely out of the reference range that I'm not worried about. All right, before we get into testosterone, let's go over HDL. So HDL is our good cholesterol, right? HDL acts as a scavenger, moving through the bloodstream to remove excess cholesterol from cells and tissues, reducing plaque buildup, right, in our arteries. So we want lots of good cholesterol, right? That's, means everything's flowing good through our arteries, lower risk of heart disease and stroke, lower inflammation. As you can see here, you see these blood vessels, these arteries. That's basically what healthy cholesterol levels look like. We want to have healthy cholesterol. That's what keeps our, hormones healthy. It's what keeps our inflammation low. It's what keeps our, blood flow good and everything moving good in our bloodstream. And you can see mine were barely a little low, 42 instead of 60, but my HDL probably crashed from prep towards the end when all my hormones were low, and it's just not fully recovered to be over 60, which is interesting because I eat steak or grass-fed ground beef and now salmon almost every single day, so I get in plenty of omega-3s and healthy cholesterol from red meat. So really would like to see that number up. I don't really know why it's not up. I also supplement with omega-3s, get my cholesterol in, so I'm not really sure why that's low, but like I said, we will see on the next blood work session after, simply I've just been eating these foods and eating clean and in a surplus for even longer. Sometimes it just takes time, man. When your levels are so crashed, sometimes, it just takes time for them to get back to normal, and it just simply seems that it's taking more time. Like I said, I'm going to be in a long off-season extended period, and I'll be back in my prime, back healthy in no time. I'm not worried, guys. It is just part of natural bodybuilding. It's not that bad. I feel amazing, and even when, I was, in the peak of the shreds, peak of prep, man, you're just tired, no energy, no libido, absolutely dead, but there's always more to pull from your mind. It's part of natural bodybuilding. Anytime you take something to the extreme, like the levels of body fat we go to, it's never going to be healthy. That's why you just get healthy post-show. Going to keep an eye on these, make sure they keep going up, and sometimes it just takes more time. It just takes more time. So definitely it's taking a bit of time for me, but that is simply probably because of how suppressed my levels were. Next thing, total test and free test. So let's talk about the difference between total test and free test. Total test measures all hormone in your blood, right? Bound plus free, while free test is just the active, unbound portion immediately available for body use. Total T is like the standard screening tool, but you should screen for both. Free T is crucial. Free T, is the active testosterone that your body uses, right? It matters. You can have normal total test, but low free test leading to, the low test symptoms like low libido, fatigue, and muscle loss. The key differences, though, total testosterone is the testosterone bound to proteins, right, that aren't active in your body, and the free test, the test that's being used. Free test is just the free hormones not bound to proteins. Here's a little diagram on everything. But as you can see, we are, higher than females now at 177, but our free test is still below the reference range, 3.5. So just something to keep an eye on. Yes, I will still be staying natty, guys. I feel amazing, and natty bodybuilding for life, man. It's just part of it. And if you actually are able to not have to pull down so much weight in a prep, things are going to go a lot better for you guys. I was dieting for so long. I pulled down 40 pounds, got to extreme levels of conditioning, and, my body's genetics, hormones crashed when I got there. Some people, they'll be all right. A little low energy, a little hungry, but this type of blood work won't even happen to them. So, I'm not going to complain about it, man. I feel great. So that is what matters, and it just teaches you to push through when your body has no energy, but you have energy in your mind, because there's always more to give in here, guys. There's always more to give in your mind. All right? So, and then when you have energy again, dude, when you have carbs in your system, when you're on the bulk, when you're on the reverse diet, you feel like $1,000,000 because you've been living life in energy deficit, pushing through. And then when your body actually has energy again, you super boost, man. You super boost. So that is pretty much my full blood work breakdown. That's pretty much all the main things. Like I said, I knew the test was going to be low. Didn't know it was going to be that low. Interesting stuff on the liver and the kidneys. Oh yeah, hemoglobin A1C, right? This is basically my average blood sugar levels over the past 2 or 3 months. This is completely normal, which shows that my body's insulin sensitive, my body's primed, my body's healthy blood sugar wise, carb absorption wise, so everything of that nature. So Definitely want to get my HDL up. Like I said, I'm eating salmon and I'm eating grass-fed ground beef or sirloin steak every single day. But yeah, definitely want to get that up, and definitely going to just keep sleep maxing and eating in a surplus to get my testosterone back up, and it just may simply take some time. Last thing I want to go over is my thyroid here. So what is thyroid? Thyroid, TSH, T3, T4. So you can see they're all in the reference range, but they're a little low. The reason they are a little low is simply because of prep. They're still a little suppressed from prep. They'll come back up as I bulk for, the next couple years here. So T3 right here, you can see my T3. It's 2.2, barely above the reference range. So T3 free is only the active form, right? That's kind of what matters. And high T3 can cause weight loss, rapid heart rate, nervousness, tremor. Low T3 can indicate hyperthyroidism. Before we get going on these, what is a thyroid? A thyroid is a small butterfly-shaped gland in the neck that regulates the body's metabolism, energy levels, and temperature. It produces hormones, T4, T3, and they control vital functions including heart rate, digestion, brain development, bone health. So yeah, T3 and having a healthy thyroid is very important for your metabolism and your overall bodily function. So mine are fine. Mine are in the reference range. They're a little low, right? Which is probably why I'm gaining weight on 3,200 calories when I pretty much used to diet on 3,000 calories back in the day when I was younger. But like I said, as I push my food up, as I eat in a surplus, they will go back to normal. So T4. So T4 is the primary hormone produced by the thyroid gland, right? It regulates metabolism, heart function, and growth by converting into active T3 in tissues, right? So free T4, right, turns into free T3. So that's kind of how things work there. Key aspects of T4, all the same stuff that the thyroid controls. It's in greater amounts than the T3. So T4 is inactive, and then it's converted into T3 by the liver and kidneys. As my, kidney and liver markers come up, my thyroid may come up as well because, obviously when your kidney and livers aren't stressed out, then your thyroid and your T4 is going to be able to be easily produced because the T4 is going to be, able to be converted better into the T3. TSH, right? TSH, that's very crucial. Definitely want to get mine up, only at 1.6. Definitely want to get it to the high reference range because that's the messenger hormone produced by the pituitary gland in your brain that tells your thyroid gland how much hormone to make. I want to make more of it so that I am able to eat more. I have a higher maintenance calories. I have a higher metabolic rate. So yeah, definitely, hopefully that TSH will go up over the next few months. So yeah, that's basically what tells the thyroid gland how much hormone to make, how much T4 to make before it turns into the active T3. But if the brain senses low thyroid hormones, it releases more TSH to wake up the thyroid. So all three of these are very, very important here. And they're all on the lower reference range. So like I said, explains why I'm gaining weight on only 3,200 calories. But that's what happens, when I'm eating 1,700 calories on, the tail end of prep, my body's going to adjust. Your body's very smart. When you're doing that, it adjusts and adapts. That's why you have to keep dropping calories as prep goes on. But a little something to help you guys understand thyroid more. Imagine your thyroid's a furnace. The T4 turning into T3 is the furnace that produces the heat and energy in your body. TSH is the thermostat signal that signals to turn on and produce that T4, T3 out of the pituitary gland. And then the last thing, my estradiol. Where is my estradiol? Oh yeah, estradiol is right here. That's actually in range, still on the low end at 14. The low end is 11.3. So not out of range like total test and free test. Estradiol is a primary form of estrogen in men, producing by converting testosterone via the enzyme aromatase. It's also vital for a lot of the, bodily functions, and you want to have normal levels of it as well. With low test kind of comes a low estrogen. With high test comes high estrogen. That's why a lot of guys on gear get high estrogen. They get gyno. They get, the girly side effects that come with too high estrogen. But that's normal for me. Last thing here, SHBG 27, also normal, kind of right in the middle, which is good. SHBG is a liver-produced protein that transports testosterone, DHT, and estrogen throughout the bloodstream. So everything's moving through the bloodstream in a really good way, but it just seems that there's a low amount of what's moving through the bloodstream. So there's just a low amount of, free test and total test in my blood. And I just got to get those hormones back up, and it's just going to take time. Seems like we're in a little bit of suppression here, but guys, it's just part of natural bodybuilding. Who would I be if I were to sit here and complain? Like, obviously I'm a little bit disappointed because I do everything I can. I eat right. I sleep max. I feel great. And so when I saw that those numbers were still low, I'm like, you know what? I'm just in a little bit of suppression. That's what happens when you're in an extended period of time, almost a year of a calorie deficit, and you get glute striated levels shredded. And so yeah, I'm gonna keep you guys updated on my road to high test journey. I'm taking natural test boosters, guys. I'm doing everything I can. Like I said, you can do everything you can, right? And sometimes things still be bad. But I'm gonna keep you guys updated on my journey and updated on, I'm gonna make a separate video on everything I'm doing to boost my test, like not drinking out of plastic water bottles, the supplements I'm taking, the diet I'm following, how I sleep max, everything like that. But most important thing here is going to be time. So if you guys are a natural bodybuilder watching this, just remember, sometimes all it takes is some time. And remember, if you guys do want to join Team Peak Natty, bodybuilder or not, you want to get shredded and optimize your peak natural physique, go ahead and click the first link down below to book a consultation call with me. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys got some value out of this, and hope you guys understand what it takes sometimes to get 6-7% body fat as a natural. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, please. It takes 5 seconds and it helps the algorithm.